A few years ago, I wrote my first line of code in Python, a simple print hello world. Today, I'm halfway through my software engineering internship at Amazon, and I'm here to tell you exactly how I got there. If you're aiming for a FAANG internship but don't know where to start, I'm going to walk you through the steps I took, the projects I built, and the lessons I learned to help me land this opportunity. Now, I was one of those people in high school that didn't really know what they wanted to do, and I honestly didn't even know what coding really was. The first time I ever tried coding was in grade 11 through this online free resource called Waterloo's Computer Science Circles. This free, simple website teaches you the basics of Python, and for whatever reason, I found it kind of fun. Because of this, I decided to take computer science as my elective in the next year in high school. And here I practiced more of my Python and Java skills. Once I had the very basics down, I wrote very simple functions to solve word problems in these computer science classes. I also built simple games like tic-tac-toe or Pong using Java Swing. Now, getting to this point was not very hard, and it honestly only took me a couple of months of learning to be able to build a simple game like this. Obviously, I didn't fully understand how everything really worked, but at this point I could write some code, make something happen, and I thought I honestly was super cracked, which later on I realized I was very wrong. After taking computer science for 2 semesters in my high school, I became the TA for the class, which at the time I didn't even realize, but it was a great experience to put on my resume. As a TA, I did basic things like checking over students' work and helping them with their code here and there, but it was fairly simple tasks because it was problems that I had already solved, so it was nothing new for me. After high school, I slowly built up my experience, from joining a design team to building multiple personal projects to landing my first internship and then eventually an internship at Amazon. Now, this journey wasn't an overnight thing. I built it up one experience at a time. So if you're starting from scratch, don't worry, because I was in your shoes at one point as well. Everyone starts somewhere, and I promise you, if you start today, you can make it to where I am. Now let's dive a little deeper into my journey. So fast forward a bit after high school, I'm in engineering at UBC in Vancouver. The first year of engineering at UBC is general, so at this point I hadn't specialized in computer yet. We only had one programming class in our first year, which I found very easy because it just covered the basics, which I had already learned in high school. Now, because of my experience as a computer science TA in high school and the basic projects I had made in these computer science classes, I was able to get into UBC Launchpad, which is an engineering design team at UBC that builds different software projects. This was a turning point for me because it gave me real-world coding experience in a team environment for the first time. Now, I can't lie, I was very confused for most of the time I spent on this team because I literally had no idea what people were talking about. IDE, CLI, API, front-end, back-end, cloud. These terms all just sounded like random mumbo-jumbo to me, and honestly, if you're someone who's starting off, I'm very sorry that there are so many acronyms. I get it because I also found it super annoying. Looking back at it now, obviously, I'm very grateful that I decided to stick it through, because just being in an environment where there's a lot of people working towards one goal, which is this software app, helps you pick up on a lot of different things. I continued to ask lots of questions, and that helped me pick up on bits and pieces of what was happening, which broadened my understanding. Eventually, I was able to help my team create this mobile health app which helped people with epilepsy, a great project that I could put on my resume. I also picked up on multiple new technologies here and learned way more about the software development lifecycle, which is the entire process of how to make a software project from beginning to end. This experience was honestly where I learned the most early on in my career, even more than any class. This is because I was working in an environment with multiple upper year students who had already completed a bunch of internships and were bringing these experiences with them to work with me. Not only did I learn how to code collaboratively with other people, I also gained confidence in my ability to make anything I really wanted. This is why I would highly recommend anyone in university to go join a design team or a club, because I promise you the experiences that you gain from there are going to be much more valuable than anything you learn in class. These teams and clubs give you the opportunity to apply your knowledge and skills to the real world, which is what they're going to be expecting you to do in any internship or job. Now, in the summer after my first year, at this point I had a little bit of more knowledge and skills, so I decided to make my personal website. Now, making a personal website isn't a crazy difficult project, especially nowadays when you can use AI or any other website builder to help you make it in a matter of seconds. But I use this as an opportunity to improve my front-end skills and learn React, which is a popular framework for front-end. Almost every job you apply to will ask you for a personal website link, and honestly, a lot of people put these personal website links on their resume, so I would recommend making one. I also enjoyed the process of designing my website and bringing that design to life. I kept mine kind of simple and professional, but honestly, you can be as creative as you want with these websites. I mean, there are really some insane personal websites out there that are just unbelievable, and there are also lots of jobs for people who enjoy this kind of work. Along with my website, I also spent some time during the summer to create some personal projects. One of these projects was a movie review web app which displayed the latest movies on the homepage, allowed you to search for movies and post reviews about them. I also made a tool to filter out songs out of my Spotify playlists based on mood, like happy or sad. These projects were both related to things I enjoyed doing, like watching movies, listening to music. The Spotify project specifically solved a real-world problem for me because I had a playlist with over 2,000 songs in it that I really needed to organize. I highly recommend, once you learn some basic programming concepts and gain a little bit more knowledge, that you go ahead and create some of these personal projects for yourself that are actually useful. This is important because it shows employers that you're able to create solutions to real-world problems, unlike the projects that you do in class, which aren't really unique or useful sometimes. Try to make your project about something that you're actually passionate about. If you're passionate about something, you'll be more motivated to do that project, and you'll also be better at explaining that project to someone else. Now, at this point, I was in my second year at UBC, and it was time to look for my first internship. I knew it wouldn't be easy going in, but I guess I wasn't ready for the amount of rejections I would receive. I must have applied to over 200 jobs, and in the end, I got 3 interviews. Now, I know people are always saying the job market is bad, but trust me, people are always saying that, and the job market is never good. So don't let that demotivate you. The majority of my friends have landed at least one internship at this point, and the key trick is to never stop applying. You never really know which position you might get shortlisted for, and a lot of the times you will get something last second because people have already gotten internships or they've just given up applying. I would recommend trying to apply for as many jobs as possible, but first make sure your resume is as polished as it could possibly be. Also, try to have a few different versions of your resume depending on which type of job you're applying for, so that your resume is better suited for that job. Look for keywords in the job description and try to add them to your resume, because a lot of the time the initial screening process is automated and you won't get past it unless your resume matches closely to the job description. The same thing goes for cover letters. I'd suggest writing a few different versions and then reusing the appropriate version with some minor tweaks for each job. This will ensure that your application is unique, but that you're also not spending too long on just a single job application. Now, after months of applying, out of the interviews that I got, I chose to work at the AWS Cloud Innovation Center at UBC. The AWS Cloud Innovation Center, or CIC for short, at UBC is the first of its kind in Canada, where students create open source software solutions for a diverse range of sponsors. You can actually check out some of the projects that I worked on here because they are all open source and can be found on GitHub. The CIC is a collaboration with AWS, so all of our apps are actually built using AWS. Now, prior to this internship, I didn't even know what AWS was. I watched a short video about it just a few minutes before my interview, but other than that, everything I learned about AWS was through hands-on experience during my internship. So basically, I was given around 2 weeks to complete this AWS Solutions Architect course on Udemy that many of you may have heard of, and then I was put on a project to work on. I also had a senior student developer on my team who helped clear up a lot of things and answered all my questions. Shout out to Ayush. Now here I worked with real clients and had to actually architecture the solution that I made for them. This was very different because other than my personal projects, up until this point, I'd pretty much been told what to do, and now I kind of had to figure it out for myself. It was a great experience because students like me were the ones who were actually doing everything, from the front end to the back end to documentation and presenting the solution to clients. I actually got to build applications for customers from scratch, which rarely ever happens in internships. 2 of the projects I completed during my time here were Faculty CV and Quantum AI. And once again, because these are public repos, you can go and check them out on GitHub. With all this experience and going from not even knowing what Python is to building full stack cloud applications, I finally applied to Amazon. Honestly, when I applied, I didn't have a crazy amount of confidence because I didn't think I was good enough to work at a FAANG company, but somehow my dream came true. Now I've made an entire separate video on the Amazon application process and the steps that I took to apply, so you guys can go and check that out. But here are some things that I thought helped me stand out. Looking back, I think one of the biggest things that helped me stand out was staying consistent. I didn't wait until I felt like I was completely ready or perfect. I just kept building, applying, and learning things as I went. I started off with just simple projects from YouTube, but eventually my GitHub had real projects that were actually useful to me with clear documentation, clean code, and a clear purpose. I also made sure each project I had told a story, what the goal was, what I learned, and what impact it had, so I could present them in detail when asked in a job application or interview. I treated my resume the same way. I listed a variety of technologies I use and tried to build a narrative that showed how each experience built on the last. Focus on making your bullet points quantified and easy to skim. If you guys want, I can go over how to do that in future videos, just let me know in the comments. Working on open source projects at the Kick and Launchpad meant that my projects were public, collaborative, and being used by real people, which I think companies like Amazon really value because they can actually see the work you've done. Even if you can't publicly display your projects, communicating them effectively and showing the impact they've had is really important, whether that's through your resume, your LinkedIn, or just a conversation with the interviewer. Try to find mentors too who can guide you in this job application process, whether it's just a friend who's one step ahead of you or even anyone you found on LinkedIn. Getting feedback on your resume and mock interviews can make a huge difference. I never thought I'd get here, but I'm very glad I kept pushing myself, even when I thought I was completely lost and didn't understand anything. If you're just starting out, I hope this video showed you that it is possible to land a FAANG internship even if you've never written a line of code in your life. You don't have to be perfect, just start today and stay consistent. Like, comment, and subscribe if this helped, and stay tuned for more videos about my experience at Amazon.